VIGILANT Broadcasting, the station of opportunity, presents The Chronicles of Doing Too Much with your host, Angel Riley.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of The Chronicles of Doing Too Much. I am your host, the one and only Angel Riley, and I am so excited to be with you tonight. So for the last few episodes, we talked a lot about toxic relationships, toxic behaviors, and the impact that it can have on your mental health. Now, I wanted to just close out this kind of unintentional three-part series, but I think it's a very important series of conversations that we've been having, and we want to make sure that we give it justice. Because when we talk about living our best lives, when we're talking about achieving our goals, doing the things and pursuing the various things that we want to do in life, it's important to see what's the baseline behind some of our own insecurities, some things that may be keeping us from moving to the next level of success, maybe because of fear, or if we're doing a lot of unconscious sabotage. And, and I totally made that up. Not sure if there's any terms or official terms or technical terms about unconscious sabotage, but a lot of times when we're in a toxic relationship, and again, remind you that a toxic relationship isn't just an intimate relationship. This could be with family members, friendships, work relationships, various things. It's not just the intimate relationship, but sometimes we carry that weight with us. One of my favorite Erykah Badu songs is Bag Ladies, and I love that song. And one of the key in the hook of that song is you're going to miss your bus because you have too much stuff. And I just love that. You're going to miss your bus because you have too much stuff. So all of this is just peeling back the layers, getting rid of the baggage that is holding us back from living our best lives. So we talk a lot about the foundation, building that strong, solid foundation. And you hear that, every Monday and Wednesday when we broadcast and close out about building that solid foundation. Where we are and acknowledging our experiences and acknowledging the positive and negative impact that our experiences may have had on our lives, it's solid, guys. It is solid. We cannot have that foundation if we don't recognize, if we don't admit and start moving forward. So that's why this topic has become a three-part series. That's why this topic has been, personally an emotional roller coaster for me. From the first speech of it, the first time that we started to talk about this, where I was overwhelmed personally with emotion just reading a definition from the Urban Dictionary, to feeling more empowered and feeling more of a release in the comments that I've been getting back from various listeners of our show, and doing the research to be sure that I'm providing solid content. All of that is so helpful. And it's the exact thing and why this has become a three-part series to move us into how is that foundation solid? How is that strong? How is unpacking all of the baggage that we may be carrying with us and piling on top of us? It doesn't matter what life looks like on the outside. When on the inside, we're slowly but surely falling apart because we haven't owned our truth. We haven't owned that sometimes we find ourselves in situations that we don't understand how we even gotten there. But we're going to recognize it. We're going to speak it. We're going to own it. And at the end of the day, we're going to do everything necessary to build that solid foundation and move forward. So I am going to reference another article out of Psychology Today. As you guys know, with this particular topic, Psychology Today has been my favorite resource. I think that the psychologists that are contributors to this particular online publication are solid. I love the way that they give you lists of things to follow with any type of behavior, and the authors of the various articles have been great. These are medical professionals, these are trained professionals. So when I talk about the various lists and the ways to deal with toxic relationships, toxic behavior, and overcoming that type of impact on your life, I'm really bringing you information from the leading experts in the mental health industry. I, under no circumstance, am a mental health professional. All I can do is just share my personal experience. You know, it's the hard knock life, the school of experience, and grow with you. This is such an important topic because it's growth and it's not doing anything to making the foundation of what's being built for myself personally, making it stronger. So let's deal with all of that baggage. Let's look at all of that mental health and let's continue to move forward. So, out of Psychology Today, the author of the article that we're going to reference is Kristen Fuller, MD. This is not the first time that we're referencing this particular author in things dealing with toxicity. All right, and the article that we're referencing comes from May 2018 is when she posted this article, and the name of it is Overcoming the Aftermath of Leaving a Toxic Relationship. Now, that is just so powerful because we've identified the behaviors. We've learned how to make that exit. But the thing that we really didn't discuss was what type of an impact can spending years in a situation that's toxic, you know, a situation of work, a situation of an intimate relationship, a situation of friendship, you know, how does that impact you? And do you even know some of the symptoms and the signs of what that experience has done to your mental stability? You know, I shared personally throughout the past broadcast of being in a toxic relationship in terms of marriage, being in a toxic relationship in terms of my work environment at my 9 to 5, you know, being in a toxic relationship in terms of a friendship. And then exhibiting, because of all the toxicity around me, exhibiting some of the toxic behavior myself. And you guys see, it's almost like a domino effect. When you're in the midst of chaos, everything around you is just chaotic. It becomes you become that environment. You become a victim of that environment. You become subjected to that environment. So as you grow and you look better and you move out of that and you move towards what is the best life for me, you're going to have some mental ups and downs. It is now, I'm very open and talking about 2017 was the worst year for me. It was like from the outside looking in, you would thought that I had everything positive going for me. But in the inside, in reality, and owning my own truth, I was struggling with a bout of depression. And I didn't even know it. I didn't know it until I really sought mental help, a help from a mental professional. And it was the advice of a good friend who said I needed to go and speak to someone before I could even embrace it. You know, yeah, I knew that there was instability there, the crying, the sense of loneliness, the lack of appetite, not wanting to really engage with anyone, taking all strength possible to do basic thing. It's like train my direct sales team, which is one of my favorite things to do. Not really being in tune with the truth of reality. You know, so many things were going on mentally, and I'm thankful that I had the spiritual strength. I'm thankful that God led me to a good Bible teaching church that was teaching me and understanding, what was right. But I still needed the professional help of a mental health professional. I needed that help. And I didn't know it until I had someone in my circle, someone who cared enough to say, you need to seek help. Now, I'm fortunate. I'm a lucky one. I can sit here and I can share my story. I can share my testimony. I can share openly about the feeling of being feeling overwhelmed, feeling like a failure, feeling as if I was invisible. I mean, just the feelings of everything. But on the outside, it just looked like I had it all going on. Great job, moved to a new city. I rewarded myself with moving to a new city, and I, upgraded the value of my car. I was already in a luxury vehicle, so I got an even newer luxury vehicle of that same model with all these fancy bells and whistles. I love my car. I have a rather long commute, and there's nothing better than having a smooth ride when you have a long commute to the 9 to 5. Being able to shop, being able to, say, hey, I'm having a rough day at the 9 to 5, or I'm just having a rough day in general. I'm going to go out to any restaurant I choose, and being able to afford that, not having the cloud of financial instability on me. I mean, life was good. Life is good, and I thank God for the blessing. But what wasn't good was the strong foundation of my mental. I could have been achieving so much more if I was aware as I am today, and actually moving forward and toward that goal that I wanted to achieve at that time. So that's why this is just became a 3-part series. I'm being very transparent, very open, and I pray that this is helping someone who may be in the same situation. It's okay to get help. It's okay to say, this is where I am. And it's okay to start moving forward to build your best life. Because when you're going through all of that feeling of being overwhelmed, when you're going through all of that feeling of not necessarily knowing what's next, that's when we start to see a lot of people starting to commit suicide. Just this past year, we've seen some really high profile celebrities like Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain committing suicide. People that on the outside, it just looked like everything was going great. Life couldn't get any better. And while I don't know any of the intimate details of their situation, but it's really easy to get to a point of feeling suicidal. And that's the aftermath of when you're in some type of toxicity. That's the aftermath when you've engaged yourself and assumed so much of toxic behavior, and you're playing that victim and it's starting to overwhelm you. Or when you're in those relationships, whether it's intimate or a friendship or even professional, that can really overwhelm you. So you're looking at depression, you're looking at suicidal thoughts, you're looking at turmoil, that sense of embarrassment. I remember how embarrassed I felt. My divorce was the divorce from a second husband. Going through that and being hit out of left field and like, whoa, what happened? I thought things were great. But it was a feeling of embarrassment to me. I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't like for anyone to call and ask me those questions. If I had to engage in a conversation about, my ex-husband, was he in the new state with me? Oh, what is he doing? How are we doing? This could be a basic question. It sent me into a bad spot. And while those around me who were trying to be helpful, a lot of those who were around me and would say things just as much as, oh gosh, you're such a good woman. He's so stupid. Or just anything that they may have felt was encouraging because of where I was and dealing with that aftermath. it just put me in a bad spot, and it put me in a place of depression. And it took me a while to get out of it. So I would put on that happy face, but I was dying. I was dying inside. And at that particular point, I had not started to seek mental health professional, help from a mental health professional. Also, not just with suicidal, some people start to hurt themselves. That feeling of inadequacy, I have someone that's very close to me and my family at one time, and I don't know what her struggle was during that time, but she would cut herself. And you can never truly understand all of that, but when you have certain types of toxicity and you're dealing with that mental instability, you'll be surprised at what that negative impact on you that it can be. It's chronic. It is overwhelming. We had an entire broadcast dedicated to how to deal when you're feeling overwhelmed. And I shared how I love my aromatherapy and I have that space. And right now, limoncello is on deck. I love the limoncello scent. You guys can tell coconut and lemon are my two favorite scents. And how we have to stop and just inhale, exhale, embrace that moment. How we talked about writing out our feelings, how we talked about getting professional help, how we talked about having that small circle, that small knit family. We talked about building our personal board of directors as we're coming out through our breakthrough. All of that is so important about living our best life, achieving our dreams, achieving our goals. So, in this article, we're going to talk about even more, and a lot of this is going to be repetitive because it's the truth and it works. So, when you removed yourself, when you've embraced all that we've talked about with, getting out of that toxic environment, and I'm going to use the term toxic environment to include the relationship, whether it's intimate, friendship, professional, as well as the behavior that we're exhibiting ourselves. Remember, we're going to take full responsibility. So, how to take care of ourselves after we get out of that toxic environment. And this is important. It's important that we continually do this. So, number one is surrounding yourself with positive people. I cannot stress the importance of that. I talked a lot about just reading a lot of personal development books and articles. And even we have in the United States, I'm not sure what it's like abroad, but we have meetups. Finding those positive environments, finding things that work for you. A positive environment for me is my sacred space. That's my bedroom. My bedroom is my sacred space. That's my happy place. There's always a candle burning. I'll watch my favorite TV shows, even if I'm binge watching for the time that I do really watch TV. I manage a direct sales team. I actually write out a lot of content or prepare training presentations sitting in my bed. Like, that is my space. The best creativity happens in that space. And in that space is when I have my favorite conversations with some of the closest people to me. In that space is where I maybe one of my friends that over the past year or so, our friendship has really grown and blossomed because we had so much in common. And our conversation started just as kind of like a mentee-mentor relationship for our direct sales company. And it turned into, wow, we really have a lot in common. Wow, we really are sisters. Wow, look at this. And I'm thankful for it. All right, so making sure you surround yourself with those positive people, having that positive space, maintaining a good and constant support group. So using the meetups, finding the groups in church, if for those of you or whatever your religious belief may be, all of that works. It helps. Don't feel embarrassed. listening to various, motivational self-development, self-improvement podcasts, radio shows, reading the blogs. There's so many things to make sure that you have that good and constant support group and interact. Don't just observe, interact. All right. Then you're going to practice self care. And this is so important. And we talked about that. I talked a lot about the books. So you're reading various books. I have quotes. Sometimes I've developed my own quotes. Write it down and put it into very sacred places, important places. Exercising, buying yourself a gift. Self care. I talked about, sometimes I might just say, I want, the other day I wanted sushi. I'm back into another state. This is my hometown. And, it's the area that I live don't have the best selection of restaurants to go to. So sometimes I have to travel far. But having that time, that self care of, I don't need company, I don't care for company, but just to go and enjoy me, enjoy spending time with myself, enjoying all of that. And sometimes I make this a ritual, and I'm going to be really personal here. I have a ritual where I take myself on a date once a month. And it's not because I don't have the, attention of a guy or anything. It's because I just enjoy spending time with myself. There was a point in my life that because of the toxic environments that I was in, I was, assuming some toxic behavior and I didn't think highly of myself. And it got to a point where I didn't like being alone or being silent. I had to have that noise or that distraction around me to feel secure because if I was left alone to my own thoughts and my true reality, life was terrible. But I thank myself, I thank God. It's not even myself. I thank God for the growth because I do a date and I get dressed up. Let me tell you guys, I get dressed up, makeup done nicely. Most times I try to have something new on, even if it's just a new pair of socks, but or new undergarments or a shirt. I always make sure when I do my monthly date with myself, I have something new on, and I turn my phone on do not disturb. So most times, because I am very well known for falling asleep on people in the middle of a conversation, especially late at night, no one really bothers me when I have my self date. And that's because most times those that are close to me think I'm just asleep. And, my phone's on do not disturb, and I'm out having the time of my life enjoying what makes me happy. My self date is to the movies. My self date is to one of my favorite restaurants, to a restaurant that I've been dying to try out. I look forward to that. I get so excited. And I just take that time, no matter how long it may be, and it's just me. And I just enjoy it and I love it. So the same way that you'll put that effort into the relationships that you have and making sure that you're keeping one another happy and engaged, do it for yourself. Sometimes I went and got a massage one day. One day, I myself date was a full day at the spa, and I just had such a good time. And I lived in the Dallas, Texas area, and there's a spa there called Spa Castle. And you can go in and, you can pay for the services. A lot of people would just go just to be, and I didn't really understand that. But I had services done. I got a massage. I would get a facial, and they had these pools, and I would go in and just sit in the different pools and the whirlpools and just relax. And then I would go to the upper level and I get sushi. And if the weather is pretty decent in Texas, I would go outside and eat sushi. And I know it sounds crazy, but I would enjoy that glass of wine and then come back, and then I would leave. And I always took an Uber. I never drove myself, because this was my date. It was everything special for me. Everyone had to cater to me because it was my special date. Reading a good book. I like to go into a bookstore when you can find one nowadays, like a Barnes and Noble or a Books a Million. and just sit down, grab a book, whether I'm buying the book, I've already brought the book in with me, grab a nice quiet corner, get that coffee. I like the soy chai latte, which is the tea, that is my favorite, and just nestling up in the corner and enjoying that time. And even if it's just an hour, it is so important. Self care is so important. And it also helps you with going into that next step of not allowing your feelings of regret or self doubt to manifest on a regular basis. You're going to feel like a failure at times. You're going to have that woe me set, experience at a time. But don't, no. Enjoy all of that and look at all of the great things. So when you have those quotes, when you have those aromatherapy, when you have the the different self care, this is my date for myself. For me personally, that's really helped me to overcome the regrets. I'm thankful for every experience of my life. I am thankful for the year 2017 because the year 2017, as terrible as it has been to me personally, it was what catapulted me into the blessing and the assignment and the purpose that God has for me. So I am thankful for that year. So don't allow those feelings to make you feel any less than fantastic because without those experiences, you cannot be the best person that you are. All right? Taking time for yourself before diving into another relationship. And this is key. That's huge. Sometimes we go relationship without relationship and we don't unpack the baggage. You can't hurry up because you have too much stuff. I love that song Bag Lady by Erica Badu. You can't hurry up because you got too much stuff. Let that sink in. Don't be in such a rush to be in that next high powered position at the 9 to 5, to be in that next, I'm all booed up relationship. Until you truly taking care of yourself and started unpacking and unwrapping. And one of the things that I'm going through right now with just moving forward, relationship wise, is letting things flow, understanding what that is, being vocal about where I am, making sure that that next person that I'm letting into my heart understands, you know, what my feelings are. And that's one of the way of overcoming this is talking about your feelings. When you see familiar behavior or you're feeling, some of the same things and you got that familiarity, that's what I call it. Recognizing it, acknowledging it, and addressing it. Recognize, acknowledge, and address. And seek professional help. I thank God for mental health professionals. I thank God for mental health professionals. God bless them with that career and with the expertise and what they can do for us. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed about seeking professional help. Don't be afraid to share your story and feeling shame of what you experienced. I am sharing my story on an international broadcast. I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed and I'm not afraid because I'm praying my testimony is going to be what helps someone else on this golden road to living your best life. Making sure that you're making new friends, that's important, but don't rush it. Let it all happen naturally. Sometimes we don't have the space for new friends because that close knit network we have is plenty. But that doesn't mean that we don't put ourselves in situations where we can encounter with others. And last but not least, do not victimize yourself, but instead view yourself as a strong individual because you are. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight for this episode of the Chronicles of Doing Too Much. This 3-part series of overcoming toxicity has been amazing. And I thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to discuss this topic with you. I look forward to speaking with you next week. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember, you define your own success. Believe you can do it, build a solid foundation, know your circle, and soar. Until next time.